Hello, brothers and sisters. It is I, Jake Shadowstar. I come before you today in a humble, loving, and reverent way. So today is the winter solstice, so I kind of want to do a little bit of a theme on rebirth. So basically, the way that I found the path that I'm on today is I had to come to the very end of myself. At a very young age, I found that I was discontent with a normal, ordinary, system-imposed lifestyle. And so I tried finding other answers. I searched rebellion, I searched drugs, I searched, just different philosophies. And I soon found that as a teenager, I went through a period where I would come along, somebody would tell me something, and I would automatically adopt it as my own belief, provided I saw that the person stating it was popular. That was a very short phase. I think that was when I was 13 and 14. Soon I grew out of that and started developing my own beliefs. But even they were self-centered and self-destructive, you know. I had all sorts of fears and insecurities, and so I would project that onto the world. Every time somebody reminded me of one of my own insecurities, like being less than, not being good enough, being rejected, being abandoned, not belonging, as soon as somebody brought that up in me, I would be angry at them and I would consider them a terrible person and I would wish ill of them. And really all it was doing is bringing me discontentment. I wanted to find a way that I could get back at the world for making me suffer. But what I've learned today is that I cause my own suffering, you know. Living like that, having that attitude, wanting everything to go my way, and then when it doesn't go my way, blaming someone or something, that brought me to the very, very end of myself. It brought me to a place where there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. There was no happiness. There was no peace, no joy, only sorrow, only pain, only misery, only destruction. And I had nobody left. There was people that loved me. There was people that care about me, but they couldn't help me. And they didn't even want to be around me anymore because it was too sad. It was too sad to watch. But that time, that period was the most crucial, critical period of my life, because it made me stop and think that maybe happiness cannot be found the way that I'm looking for it. Maybe it's not the world around me that causes all my misery, that causes all my burdens. Maybe I'm the cause of all of this, you know. And maybe there's a different way that I can live. So over time, and I'm not saying, I had a couple events that were just profound and overwhelming, and I felt one with spirit, and there was tears of joy, and I physically could feel myself transforming. Yes, there were moments like that, but for the most part, this is a gradual process that happens over time. My attitude improves more and more. I feel more and more connected. I have a greater and greater sense of purpose, but it happens gradually over time. I do feel today that I have been reborn. I do feel today that I brought my old way of life to a full and natural conclusion, which was death. You know, death of the lower self, and I feel like I've been reborn, and now I'm starting to live my divine will, my divine purpose. The reason that I came to this earth in the first place. And I never would have found it had I not have lived the wrong way for so long, you know. And what I'm saying is you don't need to get to a place where you're homeless on the streets or addicted to drugs or have to go through some sort of tragedy. You don't have to get to that place. You can realize that what the system has told you about what causes happiness, you know, material wealth and having the house and having a relationship and all this, that's not what causes happiness. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, but happiness comes from within. And in order to find who we truly are, we must let go of who we think we are. We must let go of this delusion of who and what the world wants us to be. We must be honest with ourselves and start living from the heart. Then and only then will our spirit awaken and take over, and we will be possessed by a new sense of victory, of purpose, of direction. And all of a sudden doors will start opening up left, right, and center in ways that we never thought possible. You know, but we can't do this alone. That's why anybody, anywhere who reaches out to me, I'm responsible to be there for that person. You know, people say, oh, well, I can't love anybody until I learn to love myself. I love myself today, and that is because I was willing to transform myself into a being whose primary purpose is to help others. And, you know, a lot of the times I still revert to selfishness and self-centeredness, but the point is that I am willing to grow in the image of love. You know, there's a saying in a ceremony in my spiritual path that says, unless thine image be love, right? I shouldn't be striving for anything unless the image is love. And I've defined love before as the sacrifice of oneself for the greater good of another. You know, it's like the sun, how the sun is constantly collapsing upon himself. He's basically, his whole existence is him dying to himself so he can give light and life to the world. Every day I need to become more like the sun, more like Father Sky, you know, and see the world as like my moon, as taking in the light that comes from the heart and reflecting it back at me. And so, I mean, I know this was a rather long one, but I'm feeling very passionate. I know that we can do it. I know that we have the power deep down to change this world and to bring in this new wave of consciousness, right? I'll close with this. I'm not a Christian by any means, but I believe in that saying, the second coming of Christ. And what I believe it is a shift in consciousness collectively. All of a sudden, there's going to be a new heaven, which means the death of the lower ego and the awakening of the inner divine self. And there's going to be a new earth, which means that the world around us is going to transform as a result of that. The system cannot be fixed. The system is broken. It never did work. You know, there's always been a ruling elite in the system. If we want to overthrow the ruling elite and we try to do it by force, we're using the same tactics that got us a ruling elite in the first place. You know, most people are fear-based. That's why they demand a leader. That's why they want somebody to dominate them. And then they complain. They're like, we have to overthrow them. If we want to overthrow them, the only answer is love. The only answer is going to be setting aside our differences. And I need to do this too. All the time, I need to examine myself and look at the things that bother me in the world and say, why does this bother me? What is it triggering in me? And I need to be a man, or in some people's cases, you might need to be a woman. What I'm saying is we need to be brave. We need to be grown up and we need to face this stuff. And again, I believe in each and every one of you. We don't have to walk the world as the dead anymore. We can come alive. We can come together. One step at a time, one day at a time. So bright, bright blessings. Blessed Yule. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I love you all.